Eric Morton was 3 years old when he watched his mother die. He told his grandmother who did it, and it wasn't his father. The prosecutor had that statement in his hand. He buried it. A jury convicted Michael Morton anyway. He would spend almost 9,000 days in prison. The man who buried the truth would spend 5. This isn't a story about a murder. It's a story about a transcript that sat in a drawer for 25 years, and the little boy who grew up believing his father was a monster, because the one man who could have told him otherwise made sure nobody ever would. August 13th, 1986. A quiet suburb outside Austin, Texas. Michael Morton wakes up on his 32nd birthday and leaves for work at 5:30 in the morning, the way he does every day. Behind him, his wife Christine is still asleep. Down the hall, his 3-year-old son Eric is asleep too. Before he leaves, Michael writes Christine a note. It's a small, ordinary thing, a little disappointed they hadn't been intimate the night before, but he signs off the way he always does. I love you. He has no idea it's the last thing she'll ever read from him. Later that day, a neighbor finds Eric wandering outside, alone. When she walks him back home to check on his mother, she finds Christine beaten to death in the bed she'd been sleeping in hours earlier.
It wasn't Daddy. The monster did it. Daddy wasn't home.
The police arrive, and from the very first hour, they don't look anywhere else. No forced entry, no murder weapon, no physical evidence connecting Michael to the crime scene at all. But they have a note where a tired husband admitted he was disappointed on his birthday. And to the lead investigators, that's enough. District Attorney Ken Anderson takes the case personally. This is the kind of conviction that builds a career. And Anderson has access to something the jury will never see. Eric, the only person who was in that house, tells his grandmother what happened. He says a monster hurt his mommy. He describes the man. He had a mustache. Michael Morton has never had a mustache in his life. And Eric says something else, something that should have ended the case before it began. He says his daddy wasn't home. Anderson has the transcript. According to testimony given decades later, when Eric's grandmother told the lead investigator she didn't believe Michael was the killer, the investigator tried to explain away her own grandson's account, suggesting the monster Eric saw was simply his father wearing a diving suit. When the trial judge asks Anderson directly whether he's holding any evidence favorable to the defense, Anderson says no. That's a lie, and he knows it. It isn't the only one. Neighbors reported a green van parked near the house in the days before the murder, a stranger walking into the woods behind it. Anderson has that report. He buries it. Days after Christine's death, someone uses her credit card in San Antonio and forges a check in her name. A San Antonio police officer says he can identify the woman who tried to use it. Anderson has that report too. He buries it as well. The trial starts in February 1987. Michael walks in certain the truth will protect him. He's innocent, and surely that has to matter. The prosecution has no murder weapon, no eyewitness, no physical evidence. So Ken Anderson gives them a story instead, a performance, a cold, remorseless husband who snapped on his birthday. Without the transcript, without the van, without the forged check, Michael's lawyers are fighting a version of events that doesn't exist, and they have nothing real to fight it with. The jury doesn't take long. Guilty. Life in prison. As Michael is led out of the courtroom, Anderson tells reporters a life sentence was too good for him. Years later, describing the moment he learned his wife was dead, Michael would say only this: "I felt like I was collapsing into myself. I was mechanically answering questions." Asked what almost 25 years in a Texas prison was like, his answer was even shorter. Brutal. But after a couple of decades, I got used to it. Here's the part that's quieter than the verdict, and somehow worse. Eric grows up in his mother's family's house, being told, gently and consistently, that the monster from his nightmares is his father. By the time he's a teenager, he believes it completely. During a prison visit, he tells Michael he can't come back. He can't sit in a room with the man he thinks killed his mother. Imagine sitting in a cell, having already lost your wife and your freedom and 25 years of your life, and then watching your own son walk out of the visiting room, believing you're a monster, and there is nothing you can say that will make him stay.
I can't see you anymore. I can't do this.
In 2004, after 17 years, Michael reaches the Innocence Project. Attorney John Rayleigh takes the case for free, and together they fight for the right to test one piece of evidence, a bloody bandana found near the house. Williamson County fights them for years. The new DA calls it a pipe dream. Investigators had seen that bandana at the scene back in 1986 and decided it meant nothing. In 2011, a judge finally orders the test. The DNA on the bandana isn't Michael's. It's Christine's blood, and the DNA of a man named Mark Allen Norwood, a career criminal who has been free this entire time. While Michael sat in a cell, Norwood went on to murder another woman, Deborah Baker, bludgeoned to death in her own bed, 2 years after Christine and a few miles away. On October 4th, 2011, after 24 years, 7 months, and 11 days, Michael Morton walks out of prison. Norwood is convicted and sentenced to life. Michael finally gets his old case file, 7 boxes of it, and there it is, in black and white. The transcript, the mustache, the van, the forged check. Everything Ken Anderson buried, all of it real, all of it proof, all of it 25 years too late. A court of inquiry, a proceeding so rare it had barely been used in Texas history, is convened to examine Anderson's conduct. The judge overseeing it doesn't mince words. This court cannot think of a more intentionally harmful act than a prosecutor's conscious choice to hide evidence to create an uneven playing field for a man facing life in prison. Anderson pleads no contest to avoid further charges. His sentence for stealing a quarter-century of a man's life, a $500 fine, his law license, and 10 days in jail. With good behavior, he serves 5. In 2013, Texas passed the Michael Morton Act, forcing every prosecutor in the state to open their files for good. Michael remarried, and slowly, he got his son back. Eric finally learned the monster he'd been afraid of his whole life was never his father at all.